Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and along with my fellow Husky Harry, Huggable Homos, and friends, we review films either current or classic on this show, all with a lovable gay bear twist. Definitely jazzed to be back this week, talking about a film that is generating some interesting discussion right now. I'll leave it at that. More on that in a few. But we're going to be reviewing Meg 2, The Trench, which we kind of tipped our hat maybe a little bit last week, what we thought of that. But you know what? That's okay, because we're going to go into it more in depth this week for our main review on the show. And then we've got some plugs coming your way at the end that you're not going to want to miss. But before we get to all that goodness, let me introduce those aforementioned co-hosts. Jim Pugliafico is with us on the show as usual this week, but that doesn't make it any less special. Hey, sweetheart, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. We have a movie to talk about this week, and looking forward to taking a bite out of it.
The shark puns, they keep a coming. I love it. Well, glad to have you here. William Lindis is also here. I like to nickname Will William, always a treat, Lindis. Well, I hope that works for you. Welcome. Hello.
Well, absolutely. I'm in this case. I am glad that you called me a treat and not chum, because while both would be appropriate, one would feel a little worse given today's theme. So, no, I love doing this with y'all guys, and last week y'all did tip your hands a little bit on what you felt about this movie. I had a chance to see it subsequently. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe my result was a little different. Maybe I took something different away from this film. We'll find out soon. But either way, good, bad, indifferent. It's just fun to chat movies with y'all. So let's do this.
Indeed. Good, bad, whatever. Just have to keep swimming. That's what we got to do.
Keep swimming.
Just
Yep.
keep swimming.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, we've got a lot to talk about with this film. If you are not familiar with our format, we're going to talk about Meg 2, The Trench, completely spoiler free for about 10 minutes. And then we'll give you plenty of warning before we open things up to full on spoilers. And then we'll have some plugs at the end, which, of course, is that part of the show where we take things that we love, that we enjoy, and hopefully put them on your radar so that you'll love and enjoy them just as much. But all of that said, and now out of the way, Jim, Will, are you ready to dive in to our movie discussion?
Indeed. Let's go.
Let's dive in. Let's find out if this movie bites.
Oh.
Or whether our reviews have any teeth.
I smell blood in the water on this one. Maybe question mark, but we'll see.
Shark
Okay. I guess it's Shark Week on the Movie Bears podcast. It's a little bit later than it might normally come, but that's
right. It's still summer, and beach weather is still here. So let's dive into a shark movie.
Very fair. All right, here we go. Our discussion of Meg 2, The Trench. All right, Jim, when I say this, I place no blame on you whatsoever, but you advocated for this movie as one that we might review. So it seems only fitting that you introduce this one. What is Meg 2, The Trench? And what did you think? Was this worth seeing in theaters, waiting for streaming, or skipping entirely? How did you come down?
Boy, I definitely own it on this one. We had 5 years ago, we had seen The Meg, the first film in this, Megaverse here franchise. And I remember sort of kind of enjoying it. Is it a great movie? No, probably not. It's not fantastic cinema or anything like that, but I remember having fun with that one. And so this one comes along. Here we are 5 years later. The trailer comes out, and I gotta say, the trailer actually looked like a lot of fun to me. And lo and behold, we go into the movie excited to see it, and man, all I could think about is how did they make such a great trailer out of such a not so great movie? Because I just did not have that much fun with this movie until it was maybe a little bit too little, too late in the film. This is kind of a film with two, seemed like it's of two minds, right? Without giving any spoilers until we get into spoiler section, of course. The Well, first let me read the IMDb description so people know what the hell we're talking about. Meg 2: The Trench is it's a giant shark movie. The IMDb description is a research team encounters multiple threats while exploring the depths of the ocean, including a malevolent mining operation, which is it's a freaking weird thing to like not mention any sort of shark in the description, right? They talk about a mining operation. And that's part of my problem with this movie. The whole first half of this movie is I think it wants to take itself a little too seriously, but it just felt to me it felt way too familiar. Like I swear I've seen this movie before. We're undersea in this we have this research facility underwater, then we have this illegal mining operation at 25,000 fucking feet or whatever it is. And it's crazy, right? We just had this awful tragedy, real life tragedy at sea, right? With the Ocean Gate submersible and the Titanic sub and all that stuff. And everybody's education on the effects of being super deep in the ocean is right on top of our minds. And this movie comes out with a whole bunch of really fake crap science-y shit, like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever if you know anything about the deep ocean or that. And so right off the bat, my experience was soured by really the first half of this movie. In the second half of the movie, I think it starts to embrace a little bit of the fun that the original movie did, the Meg did. When this movie got to a different location, I'll just say, and maybe more of the action started with the sharks and maybe other creatures. And that's not a spoiler because there's something in the trailer. I had a little bit more fun with kind of the second half of this movie, but to me it was just too little too late. The movie didn't live up to the hype for me, unfortunately, and we'll talk more about it. But for me, this is not a recommend to go to the movies to see. And I know some people might go see it and might have a good time just with any film. But for me, it's not worth it. I say wait for this one if you really are in the mood to see giant sharks and other craziness on film. But by the way, directed by Ben, what were you thinking, Wheatley? Which was a weird name to come up for this movie. He directed, God, help me out, Will. What was the movie we saw at South by with the guns?
He did Free Fire.
Yeah.
High Rise, Kill List, the remake
That
of
explains
Rebecca.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people maybe liked Free Fire or High Rise or Kill List or In a Field in England. I think he did that one too.
Yes, he did.
So, yeah, for me, it's no recommend, unfortunately.
All right. Well, thank you so much for laying out your thoughts, sweetheart. Let's go to Will and see if indeed Will felt differently. Will, lay it on us. How much did you love Meg 2: The Trench?
Yeah, Jim, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I thought the first Meg movie was also bad. And going into the and this one carries through that I would say not so great tradition. The problem with the first movie is the same. That's the problem with this movie, is that these are movies that don't understand kind of what they want to do, and so by trying to be a few different things, they kind of become nothing. You can be a tense underwater thriller. You know, you think about stuff like Underwater from 2020, the Kristen Stewart one, where they're that was very tense and very well done for that part of these things. You can be a tense what's going to happen on top of the ocean as like sharks or whatever coming after you. Think the one with Blake Lively from a few years ago that's escaping my memory. Obviously,
Shallow.
Shallow, yeah, and Jaws, obviously.
Yeah.
Hell, you can even be weird and campy ocean stuff like that. I would much rather watch something like Deep Blue
Piranha.
Sea or Piranha, because those movies just say, you know what, fuck it, let's have fun. But this movie tries to be a tense thriller, a comedic buddy comedy, an action comedy, an action film. It's just all of these things together, and none of it works super well.
Nope.
And the problem I have is the first movie had that problem too. This movie has it as well. I would say maybe exacerbated just because it tries to divide the two elements into two separate parts, so it becomes even less of anything. It's just a nothing burger all around. This is definitely a paycheck movie. You know, I'm a big fan of Ben Wheatley. Like, this dude has made some of the most like innovative, creative films of the last like decade, and I didn't like this direction on this. At the same time, this is not the type of film that is sort of like part of his filmography. So it definitely feels like,
now.
you know, it is now. And so it's one of those like, okay, I get it. People take a paycheck. So, you know, everyone's allowed to have one of those in their list, I suppose. But even the environmental elements of this one were done so much better in The Earth, which came out like a year ago, 2 years ago, sort of his like COVID movie. The performances were sort of nothing burgers too. Not that, and it's hard for me to really take too much away from the direction or the performances, because I'm trying to, I struggle to figure out what good direction or good performances with this script or this story would even look like. And I don't know that they would have elevated or changed much. So nothing against any of the people on this one. I get it, but I struggle to think, who is this movie for? Who walks out of this movie and says like, holy shit, that's exactly what I was wanting to see. Because there are so many better versions of each of the things that this movie does that you could go see instead. You know, you want something like big and bombastic. We had a Fast and the Furious movie that came out this year. You know, you want something tense and terrifying. Well, hell, there's horror movies that have come out in the last couple of months. The Deep, yeah. So I don't know. This is a big don't recommend for me. It's not fun for me to punch down on movies. It's, you know, it's just not kind of my bag. But holy shit, we've got a good episode ahead of us of me doing exactly that.
Oh goodness! All right, so this was not a big win for you, Will. It sounds
Save us,
like.
Brad. Save us.
Listen,
Throw us a lifeline.
I think you all are entirely too critical of other movies that, you know, probably deserve it. But this one, I think you're right, right on with your critique, your criticism. I know that your feedback, especially when we get into spoilers, may be constructive. But for me, I'm right there with you. This was not a great movie. This was not a good movie. I don't even know that this was a bad movie. It was just a terrible movie. And it's disappointing because I actually kind of enjoyed the first installment. You know, the first one definitely was not a great movie either, but it sort of leaned into like the bad fun of it all. I think, Jim, you and I had a really good time seeing that one in theaters. It was big. It was spectacle. It was, you know, just the right amount of crazy. But this one, it's almost like they took everything that didn't work about the first movie, cranked it up to 11, and went in those directions and left behind all the fun stuff that made the first one as enjoyable it was, for me at least. I don't think this is a spoiler to say but I just want to put this out there so that folks know. I almost feel like this is a public service announcement. I feel like I am maybe doing the Lord's work in spreading the message. Jason Statham does not appear shirtless in this movie.
Nope.
And that's not even the worst travesty of this film, but it's a big one. So if, like me, you were hoping to get some hairy-chested dad bod Jason Statham in this one, not going to happen. Sorry. It's just not going to be a thing. So
No.
if you haven't seen it yet, and maybe that was the only reason you were going to, maybe let that color your actions there. But otherwise, I don't know, man. This film, you're both correct that it takes itself too seriously. It tries to be too many things. It doesn't, I think, execute any of them particularly well. I think the trailer builds this thing up as one thing that I was kind of excited about, only for that to like completely not be the thing that this movie is. So, I don't know, Jim, when you were reading the IMDb description of this and like no mention of the shark, I was like remembering the opening crawl of Star Wars The Phantom Menace, where it's going on about like trade taxation and trade blockade routes. And I'm like, when that is the fucking introduction to your movie, you know it's a problem. So
Right.
It feels very in line with that for me. So this is definitely a do not recommend in theaters. This is also a do not recommend for streaming, which I guess means it's a do not recommend mostly in total, unless like you go to a friend's house and they're using a DVD copy of this movie as a coaster and you're all really high and want something to watch and you're like, oh, here's this thing that was keeping my drink from messing up your table, let's pop that in. Maybe then it would be a recommend, but otherwise not so much.
Yeah, I know the IMDb description that I read, it talks about a malevolent mining operation. This movie is not even really about a malevolent mining operation. I mean, you know, it's part of the plot at the beginning, which to me was the worst portion of this movie. I just wish this movie had leaned into its campiness a little bit more, all the way throughout. I just, you know, I found myself a half hour into this movie like, what are we watching? Yeah, maybe we saw a Meg, but I'm not seeing any. This movie is no fun. And oh, by the way, it's not really thrilling either because we've seen this before. We've seen it in what was the movie we saw with they're in an underwater facility that's failing.
Oh,
And,
that's what I was mentioning. Underwater,
the
with
K-Stew
Kristen
movie.
Stewart.
Yeah,
K-Stew movie. Yeah, it reminded me of every other better movie that was done that had these kind of scene in it, and there's some crazy stuff. Like for some reason, Jason Statham could. Well, whatever. I'm not gonna say that. But like I said, in the second part of the movie, I think it finally got its legs a little bit. And we'll talk more about. There are some things in this movie that I kind of semi liked. But I think we need to get to spoilers for that.
Well, let's talk. Yeah, and I think to really put the button on this one in the pre-spoiler section, from my perspective, it's like this is one of those movies that does not really have a good niche, even like you mentioned, Brad, like on home streaming or something like that, because there is a world where a movie that is not good can still be fun when you watch it with friends and just sort of have like fun watching a bad movie together. Like that's a legitimate fun thing to do. If you don't believe me, why is like Tommy Wiseau like a household name, you know, or mostly household name, you know? But I can't imagine a world where I'd have friends over and we would like, you know, have some beer, have some popcorn and just sort of like riff on this movie, because it's not fun enough to even do that. Like, this isn't, I think there's some people who are holding out hope that, okay, these guys are saying this isn't good, but hey, I can at least have some like Sharknado level fun with it. This movie is not that. This movie is not fun enough to be fun. It's not thrilling enough to be thrilling. It's not tense enough to be tense. This is the type of movie that is only interesting to talk about because of how uninteresting it is, which is one of the, to me, biggest sins a movie can make.
Yeah.
I would much rather have watched a worse movie, if that makes sense, because at least then I would have
Absolutely.
enjoyed the experience.
Movies can be stupid and fun, and you could still have a good time, or they can just be stupid and mostly dull, which was what this movie was. And in terms of the dullness, like I, I mean, we know Jason Statham was in the movie, and he was doing Jason Statham-y stuff, but I can't really. No other character in this movie really was. You know, good characters can save a movie for me. Like if the movie is interested in its characters and gives their characters good stuff to do and makes them interesting, I can get into a movie just based on that. This movie didn't have that either. There's a bunch of characters in here. Some are portrayed by really good acting. Some of the acting is pretty spotty. But I just didn't care for any character in this movie. And just Jason Statham was just Jason Statham,
Yeah.
shirt with a shirt on.
All right. So I think we're at that point where spoilers probably need to happen. So we're going to go ahead and open things up to spoilers. If you've not yet seen Meg 2, The Trench, this is your chance to step away for the next 13 minutes and 57 seconds. That's the remaining amount of time we're going to spend on this movie before we maybe get to something a little more fun and plugs. But if you do continue to listen, you do so at your own peril, I suppose, sort of like getting into the ocean near a shark. Except it'll be a little more believable when we bite you with spoilers. Anyway, it's up to you. Do what you got to do. You do you. Spoilers are totally fair game. They're happening now. Here we go. I want to start with a little bit of an add-on to the shameful lack of shirtless Jason Statham. Nobody else in this movie was shirtless either. Even in beach scenes where hundreds of men are
Man,
in the water, no men are shirtless in this movie. Why? Why? Why?
there's got to be some cultural reason for this. I believe it has to do with it's no secret. I mean, this film was funded largely from a Chinese movie corporation, and I think this movie was manufactured, if you will, to appeal to a global audience, like not just America, not just Europe, not just China, or Asia, but a global audience. So it's like we need to put as little offensive shit in this movie, or what could be seen as offensive in some cultures. That's how we have to create this movie. And to some of us, like in America, where we're used to seeing maybe much more, shirtless or topless, whatever, scenes in these films, it comes when we first see it comes across weird. Like these scores and hundreds of people, including lots of men, are running out of the ocean from the shark, and they all have shirts on. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't. Something isn't adding up here. It just looks weird, and it does smell. This movie, in its characterizations, and and that kind of stuff, that we saw, and it just smells of corporate involvement by the company that's behind it. It's really odd. It's just a really odd feeling watching this movie to me. Anyway, that's why I think
Yeah.
some of the shirtless stuff was missing, and of course, there's no. I don't think there's any. There's certainly. I don't think there's any like cursing or anything like that in this film. I do want to mention here in spoilers, though, one thing that I kind of started to like about this film. About 3/4 of the way through this movie, it became like a kaiju film. There was giant sharks against a giant, I don't know, octopus, squid creature. And some of that stuff I thought was pretty good. I wish they had maybe played that up a little earlier so that there was that conflict going on as well as the conflict of the creatures, the conflict of the creatures to get, against each other, and on top of the conflict of those two creatures in nature against people, right?
Yeah.
When it got to the island, I think that might have been a little bit more fun and a little bit more fun watching Statham and the rest deal with it. It also seemed like they tried to insert like another hero in this movie, or maybe two other heroes. There was a young girl um, called Mei Ying, I think her name was in the film. She was for some reason we always have to have, and you see this in kaiju movies too. You always see like a young girl, usually like an orphan or like a niece or somebody's daughter that's in peril, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is um, a very strong trope that we see in some cultural movies, and we had it here, as well as there was another male lead, um, Jing Wu, who played Zhuming Zhang, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the movie tried to push him as maybe like another hero, kind of to balance off the craziness of Jason Statham. I'm not sure that worked for me either.
Mm.
But
They
just a lot of weird stuff in this movie.
they definitely leaned into the Mei Ying character. So she played the same role in this movie as she played in the last one, right? She was
Mhm.
the one
Yeah.
who stands in front of the glass and things happen and she gets scared, but she's still kind of constantly involved. The only difference is the last one, was more self-contained within this base. So once she's there, you understand why she's there. But they kept having to go out of their way to put her in peril here, and it felt way more transparent. Again, neither worked for me, but at least in the first one, you
Yeah.
could justify it better. The other supporting characters that come back here are characters that, I mean, and granted, I say this as a person who, again, I did not like the first one, so I didn't give a shit about those characters. So I think I was supposed to feel a specific way when like Mac and DJ came back and they're doing kind of quippy antics as like terrorists are mowing down all their friends. I did not care about them. I didn't like their bit. I didn't, when they either survived or didn't survive, or were in peril or were successful, or any of those different things in the movie. I just couldn't care. I couldn't care less.
Nope.
But the problem with the kaiju elements even that you mentioned is that I think you only get that. You really only get a couple of seconds overall
Oh,
of
yeah.
like
Mhm.
them. For a big portion of the climax, the sharks are attacking one part of the beach. The giant squids attacking another part of the beach, and then on the land is all of the little. Now they have feet creatures that lived in the trench.
Oh God.
And
Forgot about
so
the Gorn.
there are brief moments where like at the very end, like there's like a squid takes out a shark similar to like the end of Jurassic Park or something like that, but it didn't feel as though like I wanted to see, if you're going to have this film built up around multiple threats, I didn't want them to feel as much like independent set pieces. This felt like a video game where I had different levels with different threats, as opposed to
Mm.
just all of these fucking wild things happening all at the same time. There's a lot of fun you can have in the chaos. This movie did not have that fun.
Yeah, and I think part of that, for me at least, kind of comes down to, Jim, you were talking about some of the science stuff with this
Oh
film,
God.
and
Early on. Yeah.
yeah, and one of the things we see is Jason Statham, on a jet ski with these spears that have like these super scientific, sophisticated bombs on them to like blow up the different megs. And first he has three, then he throws a couple, they miss. Somehow he then has five, then he's down to one, but then he has two again. I don't know. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But that isn't even the worst like
No.
science tragedy of this film. So the whole point of where the Meg comes from is this like weird thermal layer thing that's like miles and miles deep, so deep in fact that like They don't think life could even survive down there. So deep, in fact, that you need specialized, like submersible vehicles that are super quadruple reinforced to even like get down there and, explore. Not only do we have vehicles that can magically do that now, but we also have powered diving suits that give you super strength as well as the ability to survive like 12,000 miles,
25.
feet,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
below the surface under this thermo layer thing, whatever. The movie just gets lost, I think, in its own fucking attempt to be like science-y. I
Science.
don't know.
Yeah.
It falls
Or
way flat.
or anti-sciency. And what I mean by that is, like, I think the movie very quickly realizes, like, okay, the story is these things live so deep that we've never encountered them before. Problem is we haven't explored that because of all of these other reasons. How are we going to figure this out? And the movie, and to be fair, again, I think the franchise as a whole, their solution is, doesn't matter. Let's hand wave it away. The problem when you hand wave it away, though, is that we've seen too many other movies at this point where that does become an issue. We've seen too many other things in real life where that is an issue. And again, I didn't need them meticulously going through real life scenarios of what's happening with pressure and implosions, although we do get one pretty gnarly implosion. I didn't need them having to spend the entire, like, all right, the Meg's attacking, so in 18 hours we'll have gone through decompression and can attack, defend. I get why they skipped all of those things, but they skip it in such a hand wavy way that it makes, like, they might as well have gone to, they might as well have gone like 20 feet down. Plus, these are these giant fucking Megs. These sharks are so huge that they're bigger than any other shark. That's the whole thing. And that plays really well when you're dealing with like deep space stations, but they are like going right up on the shore eating people, the way that like even like small, like great whites and stuff like that don't necessarily do, but we hand wave them for Jaws movies.
Yeah.
So the movie just didn't give a shit about those types of things. I mean, I even think about a movie like I know I enjoyed this one more than y'all did, but the first of the however many meters down, I forget the number, 43 meters down or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I remember there was a part where they specifically had to deal
27, I think it was.
Yeah, they had to deal with some decompression at one point, and they're going up, but they kind of go up slowly because of some stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a part of the story, and that was part of the tension. That movie, not a great movie, but at least still was like, hey, if this is a thing that we've got to deal with, let's.
At least they tried to. At least they tried to.
Here, it's like this literally could have happened. Like, I got like, this is this vast ocean, but everything happens like kind of next to each other. I mean, they're deep enough to do all of these things, but not so deep that they can't just like take a quick boat to the the beach where all the people are. I don't know. I don't like to nitpick the science of these things. I kind of hate those threads where like Neil deGrasse Tyson does something where he's like,
oh my
actually,
God.
this wouldn't have really worked because light doesn't bend that way. It's like, it's a fucking movie. Who cares? But at the same time, when you hand wave too many things, it makes me hand wave the movie a bit.
The movie wants people to believe that Jason Statham can swim without a suit underwater at 25,000 feet of depth just by holding his breath or something, or filling his sinus cavity with water or something. Like, it absolutely makes no sense. It doesn't work that way. Like, and he could swim like for short distances, without a suit. After we just saw the whole crew in these special suits, like they played up how these suits were so they could walk on the bottom of the ocean like a mile and a half or something. It was ridiculous, right? Walk a mile and a half to this mining operation that nobody knows how the fuck it even got there. It's so ridiculous. Look, I watch Star Trek, right? And there's so much, what do we call it, babe? Like science, what do we call it? Like sci-fi. tech. What do we call it? Tech something? Magic tech.
Technobabble?
There's so
Magic
much
Tech.
magic tech and technobabble there, but at least they try to make it sound plausible. Like in this movie, it's just like you're right, Will. They just totally wave their hand and say, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he can hold his breath and do that."
And they try to rationalize it as, so what gets you is you have this air inside of you, and the pressure collapses the air, which is technically correct. That is technically correct. But you know
You
what
have
else?
air in your blood.
You know what else has
that.
air in it?
Your brain.
Bones. Your
Your
bones.
brain.
You know, like so. If if you want to go into a really disgusting Google search, you can just say, what would happen to a human body at the bottom of the ocean? And yeah, you would basically become like an imploded ball of nothing in a fraction of a second, because it's not just, your sinus cavities that you're blowing air out of. It's your lungs. It's the air sacs within your lungs. It's the cavities within your body, including your esophagus, your stomach, inside of your bones, so all of that would just in a moment. And again, I did not need to see that. That was not what this movie was, so I didn't need to see a character implode. But as soon as the movie like brings that up and says, well, here's the way of solving it, it's that this problem, it's like, well, you created this problem movie. If you're going to set this movie where this movie where it's at, and you're going to make these the stakes, and then when the stakes are no longer important, you just kind of say, fuck it. It makes me not care about those stakes either.
Right. There's so many things. I know we're probably at the end of our time. There was one character who, obviously, I think his native language was not English, but they made him speak English. They gave his lines were English, and whether coaching or whatever, he did say the lines, but I don't know if it was bad like audio dubbing that they had to do over it, but it just looked very strange to me. And I think it was the other main male lead in this. Why they even had him speak English, I'm not even sure. Why not just have him speak in his native his language, his basic language, and give us subtitles? It would have been much better.
So that actor is his name is Jing Wu, who he played the character of Zhu Mingzhong in this. And he's been in sort of like cross productions before. He was in I don't know if you saw the Wandering Earth movies, on Wandering Earth 1, Wandering Earth 2.
I was going to say, this felt like a Wandering Earth movie, kind of.
Yeah. And so he's like the lead, or one of the leads in the Wandering Earth series. And that's a much better set of films. And Brad, here's the thing. I haven't heard you dunk on this movie near enough for how much I know you dislike this movie. So I'm going to toss the ball back over to you. Here's the alley-oop. Let's go for your dunk.
I know we want to get to plugs, and I don't feel like this movie is worth further comment. Is that a dunk?
That's probably fair enough.
Fair dunk.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about this movie. I think, like you, well, I don't want to just be negative. But I think the kaiju thing really excited me in the trailer, and I feel really misled by the marketing. Ended up being just a 2-second thing, and I think that would have been the strength of the film, and it all just kind of fell apart. And adding the whole like on land dinosaur thing made zero fucking sense to me. So was not into it. So there you go. There's a little bit of negativity to brighten your day, Will.
And a little bit of positivity to go on the back end of all of that. Like, we've mentioned it a couple of times now, but the more we talk about it, the more I think about it. This is a great opportunity to go back and watch Underwater. That is a way better version of this movie from the the monsters that lurk in the deeps, from the impact of what it must be like to live in and the threat and the tension of being in a base that deep, having to deal with like, well, am I in a suit? Am I not? You know, how do the creatures outside interact with things? Everything in that movie clicks a lot better than this one. And to be fair, it's a different genre of movie. That one's designed to be like, almost like a Lovecraftian / like horror film under the water, whereas this one is Fast and the Furious with sharks. But still, if I'm going to watch this type of movie, that's the direction I want to go. So check out 2020's Underwater instead. I know that's not a plug, but seriously, if you're going to watch this movie, watch a better version of it.
This movie was so bad that the fact that I'm co-signing a Kristen Stewart movie right there with you, Will, is an indicator.
Take note of that. Yeah, take note of that. I want to go back and watch Piranha right now, like Piranha 3D, the one with Jerry McConnell, and and Richard, Mr. Holland's Opus was in that.
Yeah. You know what? The fact that I'm co-signing a modern Jerry O'Connell movie,
yes,
also speaks volumes to
that. Goodness. Hey, fellas, before we move on to some plugs, we got a couple of folks in the live chat. Just want to say hi to real quick. George is with us. Hey, George. George says, chomp, chomp. Hey, handsome bears. Good to see you, George.
Hey, George.
Welcome.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
And Xander Fogel. Xander says, all I wanted was Jason Statham punching a shark. Streams of tears emoji face. Didn't quite get that, but Xander, he did throw like magically multiplying bomb spears at the sharks. It's not quite the same thing as punching the shark, but I guess it'll be a thing. Anyway, all right. Well, fellas, I think that's probably it for this discussion. Would you all agree?
100%. Yeah. Like this movie, honestly, we're going to get to the end of the year and we're going to be doing our end of year lists. And I know it's going to happen to me and it'll probably happen to you. We're going to go, oh yeah, we watched the Meg 2 this year. Like this movie is going to immediately disappear from my brain, like as if it had never existed as soon as this episode is over. And I'm okay with that.
All right, cool. Well, then in that case, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Oh, wait, no, we can't wrap up the show yet. I mean, it seems like it'd be over and done, but plugs.
Plugs.
But plugs.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. This is the part of the show where we stick giant things up your pipeline to watching, listening, enjoying, hopefully, things that we love that we hope you will love. We're going to talk about them. So let's start with Will this week. Will, what's your butt plug?
So this is one that you can either do in theaters if one of the theaters near you is doing this event. If not, you can do it through streaming. Both are totally okay. This is the 20th anniversary of one of my favorite films of like the last 20 years, and that's Old Boy, directed by Park Chan-wook. Old Boy is a sort of like action / sort of like noir-ish or neo-noir-ish thriller. And by the way, I am talking about the Park Chan-wook version, not the Spike Lee, Josh Brolin movie. That movie can fuck off. I did not enjoy it. But they're doing, so Neon is actually doing a re-release, theatrical re-release of Old Boy right now. So you can actually, if you didn't get a chance to watch this theatrically, and this actually starts, we're recording this on Wednesday or Tuesday the 15th. This is available as of in some theaters Wednesday, August 16th. So we're going to start seeing this very, very, very soon. So I would strongly recommend you watch it. It is a damn good movie, and it's got one of the fight sequences in it is probably one of the most influential in film in the last 20 years. It's this scene where he's fighting through this like kind of hallway with nothing but like kind of like a hammer as guys are coming at him from both sides. We immediately saw that replicated, that kind of one shot, kind of messy style fight in like the Daredevil Netflix series, and several other films thereafter immediately sort of copied that style and to a degree. So Old Boy is in theaters right now, which is great. And if for some reason it's not doing a re-release near you, that's also okay. It's available for streaming. You can find it on the different streaming platforms for rental costs or whatever. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's good. Plus, Park Chan-wook, just a fantastic director, just in general. So yeah, support this film, enjoy this film, celebrate this film.
Yeah, well, good one. Old Boy's if it isn't there already, it's quickly becoming like an action classic, right? Action and thriller, I guess, drama classic.
Yeah.
Great film. And I know we were at the Loft this last weekend for the Cat Video Fest, which was a blast. But we saw a poster for Old Boy there. So
By the way,
it's going to be at the Loft.
I loved seeing the pictures y'all were sharing on social with your cat ears. So, so thank you for sharing those. Those gave me a big smile.
So many people dressed up there with cat stuff, and it was great. Wow. It was great for the Loft to do that. It was all the money was that they collected, and it was like a full showing. It was like a sellout showing. Goes to one of the local no-kill cat sanctuaries here in town. So that was really cool. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely love that I know your plug is about Old Boy, Will, but definitely love the Loft for bringing the Cat Video Fest to Tucson. And we actually got our 2-year-old kitty, Jordy, from the Hermitage Cat Shelter, which
wonderful.
proceeds from this went to support that same sanctuary we got him from. So super cool. But now maybe we're going to have to see Old Boy, Jim, if they're going to have it. I don't hate me. I have only seen the Josh Brolin Old Boy. I have not seen the original Old Boy. Yeah. So could be a good opportunity.
Great
Thanks
stuff.
The Loft.
Yeah. That's the thing. No hate at all. Like, it's one of those things where, like, sometimes these film classics that just don't get as wide a release until they hit kind of streaming or what have you. This is a great opportunity to fill in those blanks. So I mean, I think I love that theaters like the Loft and distribution companies like Neon, which have worked so closely with Park Chan-wook kind of after some of his other more recent films that he's done, are really trying to get, celebrate this with a new theatrical run. That doesn't happen very often for films like this. So let's do it.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for your butt plug. Jim, what is yours this week?
Yeah, well, I am going to. I know Will kind of strayed from the theme this week, but I'm going to bring us right back to the theme of sharks this week with a film that I found on Max, or what used to be HBO Max, called After the Bite. This is a 2023, so a new documentary put out about local residents and thousands of vacationers who flock to Cape Cod every summer begin to grapple with the alarming new reality of sharks, mostly great white sharks, while following the science to investigate. So this one I love for many reasons. First of all, it's a well-done documentary by a female director, Ivy Mearpole. And it's available right now. It's not your typical like Shark Week documentary stuff, like, oh, let's go down in a shark cage and look at these massive great white sharks, and oh my God. This is about real environmental stuff that's happening right now in a real place. I grew up near Cape Cod and spent a lot of time there. Babe, you've been there when we went to P-Town. This is very close to there. This is about the effects of man on our environment. With global warming and the warming oceans, that's bringing sharks further and further into areas where they never were before, and it's causing conflicts with other ocean life, obviously with humans who share the beaches with marine life, and when you mix great white sharks, one of the prime predators on Earth, with humans and floating chicken nuggets, then you may have some problems. And this is how these towns on Cape Cod are dealing with it. And it's pretty fascinating. It's called After the Bite. It's available on Max right now. I think it's a great little documentary. It's very well done. Some great footage. And I really just liked the emphasis that it put on, like, this is another kind of alarm bell in terms of what is going on with our environment. So yeah, check it out.
It sounds really interesting, and I definitely want to watch it, babe. Here's my question though: should I wait to watch it until after we go to Hawaii in a few weeks and we're in
Probably.
the ocean? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, knowing you and you already have a heightened respect, I'll just call it, for potential sharks in the water. I would probably recommend you watch it after.
Okay.
Maybe on the flight back,
The flight back, or the last day after we've been to the beach.
Okay. So on the way there, I'll watch a movie about a plane crash, and on the way back, I'll watch the movie about the sharks in the water.
No, on the way there, watch something that is watch Ponyo or something like that. It's just like, oh, the ocean is fun. I know there's other shit in it, but still,
I mean, it's hard to go where we go there, where the series Lost was filmed, about a plane crash, and not think about a plane crash while you're on your way there.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's very true. All right. Well, Jim, thank you so much.
Plug?
My plug actually has a visual aid. So let me go, and I'll bring this up in a second. But I'll preface this by saying that we recently saw Barbie, which I thought was going to be utter and total fucking trash, and it ended up being my favorite movie of the year. Even for films coming out of South by Southwest, some of which I really loved, Barbie beat them all out. And I saw that this is being released in February, so there's a little bit of time, but let me put this up on the screen for you so you can all see this. And I'm gonna read the description for this. So here we go. Take home part of Barbie the movie with this collectible Ken doll.
Oh,
he's unforgettable in the best way possible, in a high-octane outfit that recreates one of Ken's most memorable film looks. Ken wears a black moto fringe vest with matching fingerless gloves and a matching Ken belt bag accented by a gold tone chain. He cuts a larger-than-life silhouette in his super shaggy and super swaggy faux fur coat. With its vibrant red lining, he makes an uber-cool statement. This posable doll comes in collectible Barbie the Movie packaging. Ken is sold separately from Barbie for $75, subject to availability. So there you go.
Wow,
rad. That is, and also in a kind of a neat way. That's maybe the 8th or 9th gayest Ken, which is pretty nice. No, it's fun movie, and I'm loving that they're really leaning into, if you're going to make a movie about Barbie dolls, make Barbie dolls about the movie, right? There is a
kind of meta.
There's a weird Barbie, the one that Kate McKinnon plays, that I've also seen released, that has the the crayon and the cut up hair and stuff like that.
That's not a make your own?
Yeah, I mean that would be cool. I mean that's
your own weird Barbie.
That's what you do. What you do is you sell a just sort of a normal generic Barbie, a generic one, and put a little pair of safety scissors, some crayons, but the crayons that you can wipe off, so you can redo her
exactly.
So okay, Mattel, I am available for ideas. So if you want to reach out to me, just listen to listen to my my socials at the end of the episode.
There you go. Also Barbie related, I had a PlayStation 5 controller develop some drift issues with the left thumbstick. It's a few years old. It's a natural thing that happens to
Yeah.
controllers. I Because of Barbie, I bought a hot pink PlayStation 5 controller, and it was the last one in the Tucson Game Stops, probably because Barbie has been so popular. They have gobs and gobs of every other color, but hot pink is pretty much gone. So if you didn't know that hot pink controllers were a thing, now you do. Try to get one. Yeah, so fetch. Exactly, Xander. For sure.
What does fetch mean? Catch me up. Fetch me up.
Fetch
So
you up.
fetch is just one of those things that we made happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Brad,
not up on
I
the
don't,
kids'
I don't,
thing.
I don't know.
So
I don't know what Jim's doing after this, but I think you just need to put on Mean Girls and just force him to watch
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I've seen
yeah.
it.
So fetch is basically like a slang kind of Valley Girl way of like saying that something is like really
It's
cool
good?
or like
It's
awesome
cool. Okay.
or good.
So it's not negative, it's positive.
No. Saying
Yeah.
something is fetch is like that's so cool. That's so
And it
awesome.
sort of originated from that movie because they're like trying to like make up their own like slang and they're like, oh my
Yeah.
God,
Got it.
stop trying
That's
to make
right.
fetch happen. Yeah.
It's coming
Right.
back to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Celine Dion
It didn't
song.
stick with me for some reason.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this week for our discussion of Meg 2, The Trench, and hanging out with us as we shared our butt plugs with you. Always fun when you can share those things and have them be enjoyed by others. So hope you get a lot out of those things. We are going to be taking a couple weeks off in September. Jim and I will be in Hawaii, and we'll have some stuff going on too. But we've got a couple more episodes before we get there. So I think next week we're going to be doing Blue Beetle, the new release from
Blue
DC.
Beetle.
Yeah, and beyond that, we'll figure it out. But if you want to talk movies or anything else really with us between now and our review of Blue Beetle next week, relative, of course, to August 15th, 2023, when we're recording, let's let people know how they can get in touch. Jim, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me on Letterboxd where I rate every movie that I've seen this year, and my handle there is at JJP Out West. It's here on the screen if you're watching the video. That's on Letterboxd, and on X, it's also at JJP.West. I'm sorry, JJP Out West. Sorry, at JJP Out West. That's my handle there. And I'm on Facebook under my name, Jim Pugliafico. Send me a friend request. Send me a message first, so that so that you don't get lost in all the random bot friend requests that I get. Send me a nice message, and I'll look for you, and we can be friends on Facebook.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Will, how about you?
Yeah, let's hang out on socials. I'm posting everything that I'm reviewing. We're all doing that, and that's fun. That's so fun. Over on Letterboxd. Look for me. The tag there is the Movie Bear. You can also just look for William Lindis. I'll let you search for both when you go into the little member section. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on TikTok. I'm the Movie Bear on both of those. I'm William Lindis on Facebook, and yeah, I still live over on X, but I'm trying not to promote anything I do over there because it's turning into a garbage fire. So yeah, look for me on the ones that I'm trying to be more active on.
All right. Will, thank you as well. And as for me, oh, sorry. I Googled shirtless Jason Statham pictures since we didn't get any shirtless Jason Statham in the movie.
Oh my!
I got a little distracted. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
As for me, you can find me on Facebook under my name, Brad Harris. Pretty easy name. There is another Brad Harris though, who is a raging Republican, complete with Confederate flag, which is now back in his profile picture. I don't get it, but whatever. It's not me. I'm the chubby bearded dude who probably has other chubby bearded dudes and friends in common with you. Please just send a message first. Let me know that you're coming from the podcast. That will get you through my bot filter. And definitely, you can find me on Letterboxd as well under Brad Pro. I've been rating every movie that I've seen this year there. So if you're curious what my movie tastes are like, you can go there and see them. Just don't spoil yourself on our review of Blue Beetle next week by looking at my rating, unless you really don't care about spoilers. So there you go. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 483 of the Movie Bears podcast. We will see you back next week for episode 484, ever closer to episode 500. Our big giant milestone is a coming. So is our 13th anniversary? December?
Okay. It's so you put that
11
carry
years?
the 11 years.
11 years. I don't even fucking know
Yeah.
anymore. It's been so
Yeah,
long.
we just did
It's been
10
over a
last year,
decade.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Our 11-year anniversary is coming up in December. We'll have to figure out something cool to do for that. But have a great week, everybody. We'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Baby shark. Do
Do do do do do do. Baby
Remember
shark.
poor Alex Kittner.
Okay.